Yes, South Africa. The month of September is observed as Death Awareness Month. And with that, we say hello and welcome to Expressions. This is the place to air your views. I'm your host, Jacqueline Mapala.
Now, Jackie, tonight, study spotlight and we put it on the culture of sign language. We ask Lombuzo Mkhulu, are young deaf South Africans enjoying the same respect and equality?
That's a very important question to ask, especially considering the fact that sign language made headline news in 2013 when Uthamsanqa Yankees faked his interpretation during the memorial service of the late Utata Nelson Mandela. In South Africa, more than 1 million people use sign language as their means of communicating. Yet many South Africans do not understand sign language. So Kohaye, we're asking you this question. Should sign language be added as the 12th official language in South Africa, Mko?
Well, Jackie, there's this huge conversation that we have in store this evening. I guess it's le shelele e-tradini sibone ukuthi street journalist sethu sisitholeleni.
Sanmonani Expressions, igama lami uNandu. Today I'm your street journal. Sizokhuluma nge-sign language. Since we celebrate i-Heritage Month, we want to know abantu estradeni ukuthi bafila kanjani nge-sign language.
Is important because there are people who cannot speak and then who need to be treated fair.
Being deaf, there's an alternative way to communicate to people. I feel like they feel left out. That's why I don't chill with deaf people because they haven't given themselves time to adapt and everything to learn.
I think that would be beautiful for sign language to be added as a 12th language and also be taught in schools. I mean, it's beautiful because now we'd meet some beautiful people in the road, but they speak sign language and we're studying the same courses, but we can't communicate. So it's a barrier for us.
I think they should make more schools. They should have more schools as Keitarayo, and they should also have, they should educate people who go and educate more people about these things, because there are a lot of people who hide but bayasaba because of the stigma attached to people who can't speak.
I think it should be part of languages, eskolweni, subjects, as much as Afrikaans was. Yeah, like Utiso was accommodate abanye abantu.
You know, our school textbooks, they should have a little bit of braille engravings in them just to cater for, you know, because I mean, you can't really see it as a disability. We're all people.
There we have it, young people on the street basically sharing their take on this discussion that we're having. But to help me unpack this discussion a little bit further, I'm joined in studio by Dr. Rakwena Mpho from PAN South Africa Language Board, as well as Butumelo Pule, a Wits Honours student who's specializing in sign language. Welcome to Expressions and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And as you know, I'm never by myself in studio. My co-host Mkolisi is manning our social media side and getting some of your views and expressions on this topic that we're discussing, but that's a little bit later. But let's get into our discussion. Dr. Monareng, I think let's start from here. We know that a lot of lobbyists, a lot of organizations have been coming to you and at least lobbying this idea of including sign language as a 12th official language in South Africa. I mean, how far has that process gone? What is the status currently?
The process has gone through to the Constitutional Review Committee that will eventually force or enforce the processes of constitutional amendment. The Pan South African Language Board was called in front of, to appear in front of the Constitutional Committee to give reasons and to make an assessment whether the language is ready to be incorporated as an official language too. That process happened as early as last year, this year around March, April, and a decision was already taken. And we give a resolution ourselves as PANSAL, because we're the custodian of languages, that the language is ready to proceed to become an official language.
Sign language is not a new phenomenon. Sign language has been with us for a very, very long time. Why is it that these submissions are only being done now? Why are we still even talking about readiness to begin with if people who are deaf have always been a part of our community? Why was this not part of, you know, whatever language policies that were set up?
You see, we do have the 11 official languages, which is English, Afrikaans, Nguni languages, and the Sotho language group. and Mishitsonga and Chivenda. Those were the official languages that were categorized, that are included in the Constitution. So we've got 2 further languages, 3 further languages that have never been included as official languages because they didn't have a tradition, a written tradition. We have called that tradition in a form of a book which is called Orthography and Spelling Rules that governs that language to become an official languages. So on top of that, you're going to have the Khoisan and sign languages that are not yet official, that need to progress to that level.
I want to bring Boitumelo into this conversation. I mean, you're doing an honors degree in sign language, and maybe you can share just some of your findings in your research, because it still kind of baffles my mind a little bit that we're still having a conversation about readiness and, you know, the fact that it's not official when we've been living with people, you know, deaf community for a very, very long time. What have your findings basically given us?
You know what, most of what I've found out is that it's all about ignorance. People still treat South African Sign Language as not like a fully fleshed language. So therefore, that's why the process has actually taken so long, you know, because, I mean, the misconception actually is that they believe that South African Sign Language, for instance, when you want to communicate, is that you have to finger spell everything, do you understand? Where else, that's not true. I mean, there are signs for certain things. So definitely, so that is the problem.
And I mean, when we also look at the level of inclusion that is there, we find that our society is structured in a way to sort of keep them on the fringes of our society. Whether you're doing small things like going to a restaurant, for instance, there isn't really a lot of education there and anything done to ensure that they're part and parcel of our society. What can we do to sort of change that? I mean, what does your research actually allow us to do in terms of that?
Look, the problem is that, you know, like people who want to learn South African Sign Language, those who don't want to learn it, or rather, those who want to learn it, they don't see the need because they say, for instance, where I live, I don't have enough deaf people, so therefore, how am I going to communicate? Do you understand? So the problem is that we are excluded in a sense that we live, there's a deaf world and a hearing world, you know. So if we can be included in one, then therefore, I don't see any problem. Okay,
so I mean, this is definitely a very important conversation that we're having. Mobohedi, make sure you stay with us. And just I think for you, Kochaye, to understand the importance of ensuring that if you are a deaf person or you know someone who's deaf, they're part and parcel of our community. I mean, make sure you stay with us because we're going to elaborate more on this conversation. We'll be back right after this.
I guess Phinde sinibingelela sinamukelo sahlezi nathi ku-Expressions, and this is your #1 youth current affairs show. Mawuthi you're only joining us now, ubukuphi? Namhlanje kusihlwa we're discussing the issue of sign language. Siyabuza ke lapha ekhaya ukuthi are young deaf South Africans enjoying the same respect and equality? And of course, I'm joined by Ubhuti Raymond kanye noSisi Utsakani in studio this evening to help and break it down for us. Good evening, sir, and welcome to Expressions.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Okay, now before we get up his I just want to check in the Facebook right now. Facebook, maybe let's just take two comments before we get into our conversation. And we see Hope says, yes, for example, in my community, they treat them with respect and treat them equal as well. Buyani says, I don't think so, because some people need to be educated on how to make them feel welcome, and sign language should be made the 12th official language, and I'll have to learn it. King says, no, I think they should watch DTV for help. Begumuzi says they don't get the respect they need, and some people make fun of them because they are deaf, but I support deaf people and they need equality. And of course, now Lapekaya, you can join in the conversation. We are on via phone on 011-714-8052 Konanago Twitter. And of course, our normal mode of communication is Facebook. But Raymond, let's get into the conversation. Expressions before the break. Mina bengifuna ukwazi ukuthi kahle kahle ama cherry kahle kahle approach kanjani.
Normally, if ngiyamthanda umuntu or ngiyamjabulela ngoba muhle, ngiyahlangana naye ngimbuza ukuthi bani igama lakho. If uyakhuluma, it's fine, but if udeaf ngiyambuza ukuthi in sign name yakho, and then on top of that sithola ama number phone bese siyaxoxa. But normally kubalekile ukuthi ngikhulume nge-sign language ngezandla sibhekane sikwazi ucommunicate kahle.
That's very interesting, but I'm getting into the more serious part of conversation yethu. Ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi mhlambe mawungas you know, just tell us about some of the challenges that you face as a person who's deaf.
Abantu abaningi aba-deaf bane-challenge kunzima ukuthi if ukhuluma nomuntu okhulumayo ukwazi uku-understand into ayishoyo. Sometimes mawubhala babhala into ongakwazi kuyi-understanda. Normally ikolo ezihlukahlukene zabantu aba-deaf bafundisa ngendlela ehlukile. Sometimes igama elithize awazi ukuthi lisho ukuthini.
All right.
Yeah, so abanye bavele bavilaphe nje. So kaningi abo-deaf then they don't feel comfortable because then abantu abakwazi ukufocus kubo.
Okay, but mhlambe mina mangakubuza kahle ukuthi mhlambe masikhulumisana sinawe ungasho ukuthi what do you feel still needs to be done siwumphakathi siwumxolisi nje sila studio because inkulumo yethu of change begins khona la ekhaya kwa expressions. Mhlambe what do you still think still needs to be done?
Abantu aba-deaf badinga ini ukuthi abantu abaningi abakhulumayo bakwazi ukufunda i-sign language. Abaningi uyabathola Shoprite, abanye bathola bayenza i-traffic. So nemsebenzi my advertisiwa, it would be nice ukuthi include the deaf community.
So clearly,
so that it's easier ukuthi bazokwazi uku-communicate.
All right, so you clearly feel that there's also a long way to go, right? All right, okay. So just to take more Facebook comments right now, Kuhle says, no, they don't. I was at ShopRite this other day. This is the same point that Upud Raymond just raised right now. And she says, a deaf shop assistant wanted to help me, but I couldn't understand her, and I felt so bad. Utumi says, no, they don't get enough respect, and some people treat them right and some don't. Hashtag expressions, and that's the winning hashtag. Lindani says, my view as a civilian, this as part of a civilized country, this should have been done a long time ago. 12 official languages, they must not feel rejected as humans. Sis Pumzile says, I think they do not get as much attention as for everyone, because even in community meetings, you will never find a person who will interpret what's being said to them, as for they normally do not take part in community meetings. Young KB says they don't get respect because some people are making fun of them. Sign languages should indeed be made the 12th official language. Sister Kane, before we go to the phone lines, I just want to know from you, Siswami, njenge-interpreter, do you feel ukuthi njengomphakathi thina we're already at a point where we're recognizing the plight of the deaf?
I feel ukuthi we're not as yet, because there's lots of things that happen around umphakathi. Like they already said, Guma comments, and you realize ukuthi deaf people are not catered for. And then even if they are catered for, we find companies, they hire deaf people, but interpreter ayiko. So that makes it a big challenge.
Absolutely, and the fact that some universities like South Africa don't really have facilities that are accommodating to deaf people is also an alarming factor. And of course, I just need to quickly take Ukeke there from Protea. Keke, sikubingelele sikwamukele ku-Expressions.
Evening, guys. How are you?
Sephila kunjani buti?
I'm good. I'd like to start by greeting all the viewers and everyone else that's listening to the show.
Yebo Butwami, and what's your take on this all-important discussion?
Okay, my take, I'd firstly like to start with the presenters and your producers. Okay. In a actual fact, you guys were supposed to have someone interpreting to the deaf people before the show started, you know. For example, as you guys are presenting the show now, there should be someone that is interpreting to the deaf people. Find there's one watching television, then gets excited by seeing the hands interpreting the but how.
Okay, Budwame, and of course we do take your point. And Budgeke, as you might also notice, that this is, of course, a work in progress, but the producers of the show have also tried to accommodate you by bringing Sister Tsakani onto the show. But as I've said, it is, of course, a work in progress. And thank you so much for your comment. And of course, we do have some more comments here on our Facebook page. Matabi says, no, they don't have the same respect, and the problem is no one is teaching us as the youth. I think we should try and teach it at our schools. And of course, that's all you had to say on our Facebook page. Ungakhohlwa saqhubekela phambili ngale nkulumo right after this. Stay with us.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, we are discussing sign language, and the poll question is, are young deaf South Africans enjoying the same respect and equality in South Africa? And I'm still joined by Dr. Munareng as well as like for 2 seconds there, it just went out. But of course, we've got Mpo on the line who wants to just share their comments with us. Hello, Mpo. Welcome to Expressions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm Ponkote from Dinokana.
Okay, yes. What is your comment?
Yes, thanks very much to have that tough sound language. People are complaining about the situation. My son is a deaf. He likes to read and do everything. The thing is, we can't get somebody who can interpret him at the school. And he likes reading all the time. He's Ponkote from Dinokana. So I'm so happy to hear that you are going to do something so everybody can go to school for the sign language. I like to be there. I'm 59 years old. On January, I'm going to make 60 years. I like to include myself there so I can do something there. I'm very happy. Even now, my son wants to work, do something, but no more interpret. Even the police station, there's tracker. Even the shop, there's tracker. To have somebody at the police station all the time, if he's going to the police station, if something happened to him, 10 people are going to attend him, and nobody's going to listen to him.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your comment, Paul. And I think I just want to bring you on board here with Dumela, because I think as much as it's important for us to get sign language to be an official language, there's still a gap that we need to bridge. And I think, Mpo was highlighting that to say that, yes, I mean, like, her child is very much interested in reading, yet there's, there are no interpreters, there's not really a lot of support that is there. What can we do to just ensure that there is the right kind of support, even with the initiatives that we're implementing?
Look, the support actually needs to start from the deaf schools. First of all, it's still a challenge because as much as the Constitution says the medium of teaching and learning is South African Sign Language, however, that is still not the case because they still use the bilingual system. They still use signed English. So the problem needs to start from there. I mean, the solution needs to start from there, because, I mean, like Raymond has said that, sometimes when you're communicating with hearing people, because they're writing English, not because you must understand that the South African Sign Language structure in English is totally different. So therefore, when someone is writing in English to someone who doesn't know English, instance, exactly, I mean, communication becomes a problem,
Dr. Munareng, it's very clear that the challenges are great, but obviously there are solutions that can be implemented, right? There's progress that has been made. And I think let's talk about that, because I think throughout the show, we obviously have been focusing on some of the challenges, we've been focusing on some of the gaps, but just to reassure people at home who either are part of this community or are, have children or so forth who are deaf, what can you tell them to reassure them that work and progress is being made to ensure that inclusion and access is part and parcel of the progress? The
first point we need to make is that the move to have the language to be made official, and it's kind of at an advanced stage. The idea is to give platform to the speakers of the language and give them the right to express themselves officially. Immediately after that is done, it means that we need to go to education. We need to look at school programs and school system, the basic education, and see how we're going to be introducing that in schools. There are special schools that are made, that are meant to do sign language teaching, which are there. But for the sake of integration, you cannot only limit that space to only special schools, because they are human beings like any other person. The idea is to open way for these languages to be put within the official curriculum, so that they can be given official national hours, and then they are not going to be treated as extracurriculum studies. They are going to be basically get into that. Then you will need to go to tertiary institutions where training for teachers that will be teaching them needs to be done thoroughly. Currently, I think University of Free State, I think your university too is doing that. They're basically focusing on developing people that can speak, can sign, and that can be able to teach. And when you talk about teaching, we're talking about the methodologies and approaches of teaching, because it's not going to be given to Tom, Dick, and Harry like this, the story that we were talking about during President Mandela's funeral. You don't take such kind of people. You need professional teachers in this language. And immediately you do that, you give the language value. You give the language substance.
And that's the important part, the element of giving it value.
Yes.
But I mean, for someone Kochaye, you know, you are a Jackie of, you know, and obviously you want to ensure that you can communicate with deaf people. You want to learn sign language. Maybe can you give us some info as to where we can at least start the learning, just so that we can also be part of the solution as well?
Okay. Well, the Wits Language School teaches courses in South African Sign Languages, and the nice thing about Wits Language School is that the courses run during like Saturdays, you know. And
so this is offering something to a layperson, if you want to learn sign language, this is providing that for you. Unfortunately, we have kind of run out of time, but I would just want to thank you so much for your contribution and your insight on this issue. And I think just for allowing us to actually highlight it and the importance and the value that we need to bring to sign language. So thank you very much for coming to Expressions.
Thank you for having us.
And of course, thank you to my guests on the other side, Raymond, thank you so much, guys. And of course, Jackie, it was a very informative conversation, because we are the agents of change, and conversations start Lagwa Expressions. How we take them forward is up to us, Makai.
And big ups to Expression for actually putting a spotlight on this and actually highlighting the importance of sign language.
Okay, Lapikaya, the Cutting Edge is up next. And before we go, we just present to you Dalu Kolo. Take it over, my brother.
Ditilandu lukwelo lilo ijala. Danbisa kalakuni nasiswa sintuntu. Danbisa kalakuna ngalanswani naluchale lilizwe. Kanandin bona kaknamhlanje nilahlekile. Ningaba atitekile baklopitekile. Nusikana siyi izinto besenzwa ngokhokho nokhokokazi benu. Sukanal fulatela lilizwe nawafulatela amasiko enu. Sukanina nasiya izinto besenzwa ngohlobo mkhulu benu. Yalonto ndithi kaloku kuningalentwa. Ndinibizela mpho kaloku khona ukuze nenze into eyenziwa ngokhokho benu. Sanonimangasa kaloku nina lutsha laseMzantsi Afrika. Gothukani kaloku lizwe lakuthi. Buyane mpho kaloku ndiyanibisa. Kaloku sithi siXhosa. Le nto ingumlambo omdala igcwalisela umlambo omncinci. Ndiyakani kaloku mna mfuna ithethe ndondophele. Ndiyarhamrham. Iyo.